drawing tool that I love is called the curvature tool, and it's similar to the pen tool, but it automatically draws curves instead of straight lines. So if I start drawing with this, wherever I click, it's automatically going to create curves, as you can see. Once again, if your drawing starts with a fill color and you want to switch quickly to a stroke color, just press Shift X on the keyboard. I'm going to increase the stroke size so just we can see what I'm doing. And the only problem with the curvature tool is that every time it just wants to force creating curves. So even here, you can see I couldn't create a straight line, but luckily, all you have to do is to double click on an existing point, and that creates a corner point. So I can actually draw a straight line here. And again, if I want, I can double click. Or another way of making sure that you draw straight lines is to hold down Alt or Option key. And that way, even though you are using the curvature tool, temporarily, each line will be straight while you're holding down that keyboard shortcut. So now that I let go, you can see it's again going back to drawing curves. And either double clicking or holding down the Alt key, you can switch to drawing straight lines. So I'm just going to draw these details here at the bottom. There's another curve, which we can add here. And then holding down Alt key, I'll create straight lines here up to this point. And then again, I just add a bit of curves up to here. And then double click because we want to change the direction of our curve, and then come in here and then something like that, that, and that. And there you go. Quickly and easily, we could draw curves and straight lines using the same tool. Now, there's a lot of people who prefers to work with the pen tool only, but I encourage you to try out the curvature tool if you have never worked with it before, because it can actually save you quite a lot of time and effort. So in my workflow, I use roughly equally these two tools, and I switch back and forth with them often, depending what type of shape I'm drawing. Now, before I would add a fill color on this shape, I already think ahead a bit, and I know that I will need some shading and shadow details on this coat. So to add those, I'm going to actually select this shape and switch to a mode called Draw Inside. Now, this is something you can select from the toolbar, and you find there the three options. Draw Inside in this case is what we need. Or you could also use the Shift D shortcut to switch between the drawing modes. And when you see the little corner lines showing up on your selection, that shows that you are in the Draw Inside mode. And what happens at this point, if I use any tools like, let's say, the pen tool, is that whatever I'm drawing is automatically going to be only showing within the details that were originally selected. So if I just press Shift X here, you can see that the details I created will only show inside my outline of the coat. So I can draw another shape as well, just so you can see how this works. If I draw this detail here, again, I can just go very quickly around it, and you can see this part here is not visible. So essentially the Draw Inside mode creates a clipping path from that selected outline. I will show you in the layers panel how it actually looks like. So I'm just going to close up this shape, and another curve we need here. And there you go. That's another shading up there. So that's pretty much all I needed in this case. And now if I press Shift D, I can get out of the Draw Inside mode. But to have a look at what we created in the layers panel, notice that the original outline we drew with the curvature tool turned into a clipping mask. And the easiest way to see that is that it has an underline in the layers panel. So always keep an eye for that, because that's the crucial element within a clipping group. Anything that's going to be inside that shape is going to be visible, and anything that goes outside of it won't be visible. So if I just select one of these shapes that we created, let's say this one here, if I start moving it around, see, it disappears when I move it outside, but it again will appear once I move it in. So that's basically how a clipping mask works. And it is the fastest and easiest way to set it up by using the Draw Inside mode. So create your outline, start drawing inside it, and then Later on, you can add any more elements if you want, just simply make sure that you place them inside that clipping group. And of course, the clipping path, which creates the mask, can be colored as well. So if I choose for this a fill color, in this case we will choose this brighter purple color, then you can see it still works. And the cool thing about working with the clipping path is that it doesn't even have to be at the bottom of the clipping group. It can be on top, and still it will look like it's behind everything else that you have in that layer. So just to show you this, if I move this down, it doesn't make any difference if I again move it to the top, because the mask itself behaves differently to the items inside the clipping group. So let's just rename this again, and let's call this coat. And if I turn back the cape, because it's behind it, we can already see how the illustration is starting to come together. Shapes and lines. So we also call this shape language. So when you have when you're working with simple shapes, like blocks, in this case, the characters on the left are very blocky. So they are mainly made of rectangles or squares. They usually tend to create characters that are very grounded and solid and slow moving, but strong and heavy. So if you're using shapes, and obviously these are quite exaggerated versions of that, they can really help you to get that straight away. Because when we look at a character, if it's obvious, like from the shapes, what type of character it is, it already helps again to tell the story and get a sense of what this character is like, what it is, how is it moving, how it is behaving in general. Cool example is this one here from Piper. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, or his name, I'm not 100% sure, but Cryptid Creations is the artist name. The character is a really cool example of using triangles, which is most of the time is used for aggressive or dangerous characters. It might be actually a friendly character, but still someone you don't want to mess with. So triangles are great because it's the sharp corners. That's usually something that we just are familiar with and we know that we should avoid or be careful with, is a good example of that. Then we have the cute characters on the right. So both of these, again, same guys from the previous page, same artists. We can see how circles and round shapes are great for capturing more cute and friendly characters. And of course, Chris's dragon is something that is taking that to a whole new level, where literally everything is made of circles, including the arms, the little toes, the eyes, obviously eyes are usually round, but the whole shape is like there's not even a body, it's just a big round head. But it still works, you can still read the character, and that makes it really cool. Same applies here. So apart from the limbs, the legs and the arms, everything is really rounded and curvy and friendly and fluffy. So yeah, shape language. Another very, very useful technique. And it's actually quite easy. Once you start using shapes in general for creating your characters, it's going to really help you to get an immediate impression. Do you want to learn how to create professional vector illustrations using Adobe Illustrator and having fun at the same time? Then this course is perfect for you. We will be working on 3 character illustration projects, covering the whole workflow each time, from the initial sketches to the fully fledged vector drawings, to give you insight into each step of the creative process. As the title of the course suggests, these characters will be fun and quirky monsters. You will be able to use the sketches, colors and elements included with the course and follow along the videos to recreate each artwork. Or you can use the techniques demonstrated to create your own versions of these characters and let your imagination run wild.